Well, I think when you look at the story, like you said, of Joseph and his brothers, you know, you referenced that their jealousy really almost killed their brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the opportunity to kind of do the same thing, and he chose not to. But, you know what I just thought of? You know, sometimes when you're a sibling and you're in the middle of it and you've been hurt by it and you may have a chance to kind of even the score, maybe you should sit back and ask yourself what he probably had to ask himself. What do I really want to see happen here? Do I want to see 11 of my brothers die for what they did to me? Do I want to see them hungry and hurt? Is that my ultimate win? Is seeing them fail?
Mm-hmm.
How do I win as the only winner? It's not that fun.
No, it's not.
So in the same way, you know, you can make it about fairness all you want, but at the same time, if things are fair, you know what that means? We're equal. It means that we're both right here. It means that there's no room for growth, and you can't go higher, but I can't either.
Mm-hmm.
So in reality, you know, when siblings are going at it, truth has to be, they got to ask themselves, do I really want my sibling to fail? Is that what I need to make me feel better? At the same time, I think a parent would have to ask themselves, you know, when they're tempted to get involved, and maybe it's to even the score, maybe it's to, because, you know, this happens. There were things I was not allowed to do until I was 18. And by the time it got to Gabby, she was like 14 years old.
That's
and it was
not
like,
true. Come on.
There were some shows.
Oh, sure.
There were some things that happened, but I'm not saying it's a negative thing.
Right.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, what do you do as a parent? It's kind of like, whatever. You kind of just kind of the way it happens, I guess. And I'm probably going to do the exact same thing.
I think you dated before any of the girls did.
That's actually not true, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that in a Kenny will come back out later.
Oh, Lord.
But no, I really do. I guess it's good to say, you know, it's like that movie Talladega Nights. He lives his entire life thinking that if you're not first, then you're last. And it's only towards, you know, the end of the movie when he's completely hit rock bottom that his father, who incorrectly instilled this belief in him, says, what are you talking about? You can be second, you can be third, you can be fourth. What are you talking about? In the same way, do I have a mentality that says the only way to win is if I'm the only winner?
Yeah.
Or, you know, if we all win together. So I just look at that story of Joseph. I mean, is the only way to make up for the wrong you did to me is to have a basic slaughter of my family?
Yeah.
Or is it to say, hey, all right, we're going to let that go. I probably don't know the whole story anyways, because I don't know what it would be like as an older brother, as 11 older brothers. I don't know what it would be like to hear the youngest saying, hey, guess what? You're going to bow down to me.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's the responsibility of the parent. And I would say from a parent's perspective, from my seat, there has to be an awareness. One, I've got to be aware that there is this tendency for rivalry. Two, a lot of it is going to be because of my actions, the attention that I give to one and maybe not the other. And this is tough with blended families today. As parents try to deal with guilt and parents try to deal with who's mine, my blood, who's a stepdaughter, stepson. There's a lot that parents will have to deal with. So they have to recognize, as I look at my family, I can't give attention to one more than the other. I have to be aware. I have to be conscious that what I'm doing for the one, and as the family unit goes, I'm doing for the other. It's like the girls sometimes say to us, well, you guys got so excited about Chris and Steph because they were the first two, and now we're not getting that same attention and that same time with you. You know what? That's possible. That's possible. But when you were born, gosh, and we had a cat in the house, and not that we were cat people, but for some reason, Mary and I had a cat, and that cat was cute and everything. But the day I found a cat hair on your little sucker, I'm like, cat's gone. Then by the time little Gabby got around, little Gabby's on the floor playing with Jack and Jill, and they're licking all over her face. So yeah, things change as your kids go on, and they sometimes miss out some of the attention, which is why we have to be really, really aware of it as parents, that I have to make sure there's fairness here in the home environment, the attention. But at the same time, the children, the kids in the family, they have to recognize that as fair as it is in the home, there's some things that are going to happen that fairness has nothing to do with it.
Can I speak to that?
Birth order has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Do you remember back when we did have Jack and Jill? And they were indoor dogs, so they would go in the house all the time. And I remember, and I know this as a man, I know I had to take care of the dogs more than the girls did. And there was a particular night where Jack had gone in the house, and I was like, I'm not picking it up. I said, girls, one of you do it. And I went over to Gabby, and I was like, Gabby, you pick it up. And she's like, I always pick it up. And I was like, you know what, forget it. Lauren, I always pick it up. And then I went to Stephanie, and she's like, oh my gosh, I always. And the only reason we're having this dialogue is because I believe I always do it. So I've always looked at that, and I brought that up with our girls before. I brought that up with you guys before. It's like, wow, we all have a tendency to think we're the only ones. Because even to your reference about, the first two got way more attention. By sheer statistics, the last children grow up in a more affluent home than the first two. Mm-hmm. So the vacations my sisters were taking by 12 and 13 were not the vacations I was taking at 12 and 13.
True.
So the truth be told, fairness is kind of over time.
Yeah.
It's fair over time. So my I guess my last point is we all pick up the poop. Mm-hmm. When it's in front of you. When it's in front of you.
The bull's here today.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
When it's in front of you, you just got to deal with it. No one always does anything.
Yeah.
So
it's being aware of it. And even now, let me tell you, because the other part of this from a sheer work environment now, the business side of this, I've got 2 new kids in the family.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Got your wife and Stephanie's husband.
Yep.
The feeling is, now there's 2 ways to deal with it. This is where my mind goes. One, you don't do anything. And you just let over time it play out. As they say, leadership always rises to the top. So you just wait for them to find their place of leadership and contribution here in the church. That's one thought. You just don't do anything about it.
Figure it out.
Let it work its way out. The other is, all right, I have to be aware of this now. So let me immediately, like I did my own kids, start making a way so they feel included in the process, because this is going to play out in the home. Because the rivalry there with the in-laws is a big deal, especially with guys. They come to blows, man, head to head. Kenny comes in the room when guys get together and they start, comparing their gift with their brother-in-law. That's a big deal. And then trying to be brought into the family and how all that stuff works, that's not easy. So we have to be aware of it. And then my style is be intentional.
Yeah. So
if, you'll notice when we're doing things, we're in our flow of our ministry and we're closing out the service. I want all the family on that stage with me, because all of them are playing a role. So I'll go point them out and say, come on up. I'll look for them if they're not on the platform already to stage with us. I look for them, say, okay, maybe you're not singing, but just stand up here with us, so they can start to feel the involvement where their gift will eventually make a way for them if they're singing or if they're praying, whatever it may be from our perspective. I want them up there being able to sense what it's like.
Yeah.
But I can't just go plug and play them just because they're a family member.
No.
They have to learn what the rest of the family has learned to make sure they're qualified to be in this position to help and lead. They have to take time.
Yeah.
And they can't allow that in their mind to make them feel less, that they're not already up there doing what the brother-in-law or doing what the sister-in-law is already doing in the organization or even in the family. You can't do that. You can't take a person who's only been in your world for 1 or 2 or 3 years and then say, all right, you're equal as for contribution and involvement to the rest of the family who's been in this for over 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
There has to be a slow step, an intentional step where there's learning, where there is earning, and there is, okay, we're going to find out where you fit in and contribute the most, partly because you're family, but partly because we know you were brought to this family, okay, to help us do what our purpose and our destiny is. So that's my job, again, as the parent.
Yeah.
And even though I'm dealing with young adults, okay, I'm not dealing with kids here. Now it's young adults. This is still a constant conversation.